Welcome to the acclaimed podcast, The Deep Dive, featuring your esteemed hosts, Andy Monitor and Drew Dinzik, powered by BETSPERTS.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. The NFL preview series rolls on, Andy. We get to cover the rest of the best division in the NFL.
8 teams,
NFC
$8. Yeah, we made fun of this division a lot, but it's interesting again. A little bit of we had 4 teams play as badly as they did and only one new coaching hire. I guess the Cowboys did lose a defensive coordinator. We had that, but otherwise not a lot of turnover. Obviously.
Was he really coordinating the defense?
I mean, he was showing up. He was cashing the checks.
Good point. Oh, looks like you're having beach week this week. Oh, cool. You're at the beach, huh?
I'm getting ready for vacation times.
Yeah. We get to do another podcast while we're sweating a live middle. And this one a little bit bigger than a 2 or 3 home run middle. So very interesting interjection of some WNBA All-Star thoughts as we break down the NFC East top 2 teams. And we will start with the Washington football team, the reigning champions, who are surprisingly not the favorites to repeat. Can you put some context around why they might not be favorites? And do you think it is reasonable to look at their 2020 season and in any way, shape, or form say that was a fluky result?
I mean, so many things had to happen for the NFC East to play out the way they did. If you haven't listened to the Monday one, we go in depth on the Eagles, all the strife in Philadelphia. New York not quite being there, not all that surprising, but losing the running back right away and having a young head coach, not surprising that they finished where they did with the amount of wins they had. Dallas, probably the biggest surprise. Like Washington having the amount of wins they had, having the record they had, was not the surprise. The surprise with that record was what won the division. Like all the other butterfly effects things that had to happen. And, we'll get to Dallas next. They're our second team today, but the cluster injuries, the fact that the defense was really, 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 really bad when we only thought they were going to be like maybe 2 reallys instead of like 4 or 5. We did not think the defense was going to be good, but I mean, it was like Oakland bad.
Dallas had to implode. Philly had to implode. Yes. Nothing, the Giants offense had to not take a step forward. And they had to have one of the better top 5 defenses in the league. If you go back to if we put our Washington thoughts in a time capsule from last year, it was pretty consistent from our preview show through probably week 17. I think we were very consistently like, this team's not good, but they're going to be in the mix.
They're going to compete.
They're going to be in the mix.
Spot.
They're going to be in the mix. Like in the hunt. That was our call. Yep. We were like, when they play the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, I guarantee you the narrative will be they are in the hunt on every graphic. And you know what? They were in the hunt. And realistically, they were in the hunt almost entirely on the basis of they had a defense that could rush the passer and could tackle like MFers. And that was because, you know why that was? It was because they invested first round, high first round capital into the defensive front 7, I think every year for the last 15 years, approximately. But they finally hit on Chase Young. He was the clear, obvious DROY last year. Yep, and on the back of 7 sacks, 8 sacks, 9, 10 sacks from him. The defense was very, very solid, and they got better as the season went on. And I don't know that it's not a secret this year like it was last year. Last year, going into the regular season, the Washington football team defense was projected to be bottom half of the league.
That was weird. And we did harp on that a little. So, and that the whole analytics thing. And, we subscribe to a lot of that. Like, running backs don't matter. Defense doesn't matter. It's an offensive league. All this, this kind of linebacker doesn't matter anymore. Like, defense does matter. It just doesn't matter in the way it used to. You can't say defense wins championship. Defense covers games. Defense keeps you in games. Like somebody in the Sam Lipscomb there in the chat mentioned Dwayne Haskins had to get benched. That's a big part of this too. He was not the answer there, but somebody here, deep value better says they played Tampa Bay tough in the play. They did play Tampa Bay tough in the playoffs. A lot of that was a really gritty performance by the offense.
Well,
the young
Taylor
quarterback.
Heineke was not afraid of the moment.
No, he played well for we also go back and watch Joe Webb's playoff appearance. Like there's guys who can handle that moment. And then there's Joe Webb. And Heineke played well, but the defense is going to keep you in games no matter who you're playing. It just, they're a few pieces away from being a really decent offense. They have some good young players, obviously McLaurin on the outside. They have a good running back who can catch a lot of balls too. If the quarterback situation's figured out and they add a little more, this could be a good team down the road, as much as this franchise is cursed and has a horrible owner and a horrible field and doesn't even have a name. This is a franchise that I think is on the ascension for me. Maybe not this year, but the following year. And I think to answer your first question was, why are they not favored again? It is just, and we'll get a lot to Dallas when we get there, but the public perception of Dallas, what that offense can be, the star power, the three receivers, Zeke, Pollard, Dak, the fact that it's Dallas, like, they're going to be the second fiddle here, just as it is. And maybe it's not wrong. I think the gap might be a little too big, but I don't disagree with Dallas being the favorite in the division.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about their 2020 season before we bring up the 2021 odds. The 2020 season saw the first season of Ron Rivera regime. It was a tumultuous season from a ownership and front office standpoint. They had a lot of things going on there. None of them were good. And Ron Rivera was able to sort of steer this franchise for, through a pretty murky, a pretty difficult potential few months there while he was going under.
He had a murky few months there. Yeah, he had a bunch of health issues.
Just a very impressive job by him. Will not take anything away from what happened with them last year and what he was able to accomplish with this team. They went through a transition of having swung and missed on a franchise quarterback. A lot of times that is hit the reset button. We're just going to tank for a draft pick. They did not. They played through it. They brought Alex Smith back from the dead. He wins comeback player of the year after having 5 or 6 games in a row where he was just very, very not turning the ball over, which is exactly what you want out of Alex Smith.
Well, that's what you're going to get. Like, Alex Smith is not, like, you're not going to be surprised by Alex Smith. He's not going to, just turn into something he's not. Like, that's what they got from him. And, a good coaching staff, a good veteran coaching staff like they have. They're the perfect squad to get exactly what they got out of Alex Smith. Like, they can get that out of a guy, and he rides off into the sunset. We move on with it this year, and we'll see. We'll see the defense probably be, just as good. And we'll get to 2021, I guess, back to 2020 more. But yeah, they got what they needed out of the various quarterbacks they started. They made the right call, getting moving on from Haskins. They made good moves to build this defense, not just our guy, but Sweat and other people along the front, the front 7. I mean, there was multiple people in the front who were legitimate threats with the pass rush. It wasn't just our guy. Like, that's what made that special. Like, they were good along the whole front, the linebackers. Yeah. There were some other, no defense is perfect, but yeah, it turned out to be a much better defense than I think even we thought. Yeah. And, it was the perfect storm. They ran into fun. It's fun for them. I kind of harp on teams like this who, do you really want to finish 8-8 and then have a middle of the pack, draft pick or whatever? Like, whatever. Like, win the division, go play a playoff game. Like, that is fun. It's got to be fun for the, just the fan base in general, and especially with some exciting young players on offense, the defense being what it is. And I guess we were surprised they actually won the division, but we did say they'd be in the mix, and it was a fun team to watch. We did watch a lot.
What was surprising? Here's the surprising things for me. They're 1-5. through 6 weeks, they don't quit.
No.
Bad loss to the Giants. They lost 19-20 after they go for it for 2. After getting that score at the end to make 20-19, they go for 2. They do not get it. That drops them to 1-5, and they did not quit. They came back out the next week. They got a win heading into their bye against the Cowboys. That really kind of saved their season. So they're 2-5 instead of 1-6 at the bye. They lost 2 coming out of their bye to the Giants and the Lions. They lost 2 games to the Giants, by the way. Couple thoughts on that we can talk about as we project forward to 2021. But 2 more losses, so they are now 2-7. Did this team quit? No, they did not.
I think every team was 2-7 at some point in this division, though.
It wouldn't surprise
every team
me.
has been dead at some point.
Except the Eagles had that tie, so who knows what their record was. But they get a gritty win against the Bengals. They blow the doors off the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, and then the real pinnacle of their season. They're on a 2-game winning streak. They go at Pittsburgh, who, if you remember at the time, was undefeated. And they go and hang an L on the Pittsburgh Steelers on the back of just very, very outstanding defensive performance. 3rd win in a row, picking up a little steam, picking up a little momentum. Complete a 4-game stretch where they beat the Niners. And at this point, it's like, okay, now we're believing in ourselves with defenses clicking. And then they still needed that Week 17 win to get to 7 wins against the Eagles. It was gifted to them. That's beside the point. They still win. I thought they acquitted themselves well in the playoffs. And an 8-point loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which at home, but they covered, right? Was that an 8.5? Yeah. It was a cover, right? Okay, I couldn't quite remember. Tampa Bay certainly made their parlay. I mean, their teaser number, I could tell you that. But overall, it was a very successful season. You can't deny it. And as we look now into 2021, let's pull up their odds.
Yeah, and I mean, just last thing on it. You talked about some of the teams they played, but you will always play, and obviously you play your divisional games, and then you'll always play a division from an entire division from your conference and an entire division intra-conference.
Yes.
And it was the AFC North and the NFC West.
They drew poorly.
They had a tough that is one more feather in their cap. 3 teams from the AFC North made the playoffs. The NFC West, Rams, Seahawks, Niners with the injuries rough, but they drew a rough schedule last year. So the Lions and Panthers not so bad, but the rest of that wasn't very easy.
It's not all that much better for them this year, is it? They get the South. No, they get the AFC
West and the NFC
West
South
and the NFC South.
And then
NFC
Packers,
South's
Bills, Seahawks for the extra ones.
Yeah,
that's another reason. We'll get to the schedule. Let's do odds quick, and then we'll get to that schedule. That's another reason why I'm kind of leaning Dallas, even though I don't like them.
Okay.
So similar, not a big difference between the bottom 3 teams in this division. 50-1 to win the Super Bowl. Again, if you were betting this team just right off the bat, if you were betting this team to make the playoffs, I think you're probably better equipped to maybe bet them to win the NFC East or the regular season win total over.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, if you can find plus 325, that's an advantage number because there are some market making shops out there that have the Washington football team in the plus 201 range. Was that a special win bet boost by the deep dive guys?
I think they just hate the team. They hate the owner.
So if you want to bet Washington football team, sign up for WinBet. Use promo code Yeti Deep Dive. Andy. BETSPERTS Andy mug.
Andy saying no.
Okay. And it's that's an off-market number. I might go play that.
I have an account in Colorado. I just have to make a quick call.
But anyway, to win the NFC East, between the NFC East at plus 325, much better angle of attack than to make the playoffs. Yes, at plus 155, another example of a team. Then I would say this, for all across the board, really for the NFC least. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about the Cowboys' chances because the Cowboys at least have an offense with a pulse, so they could somehow, some way, score their way to enough coin flip wins to get a wild card, I suppose. But yeah, their regular season win total at 8.5 juice to the under. So that tells you that this is expected to be an league average team, a little bit worse than league average, right? That's what 8.5 means now.
Yep. It's weird. It's still, the math doesn't quite jive with my brain, but yeah, a little. I mean, 8.5 means league average. It's juice to the under, so it's slightly below average, and I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Again, we'll flip to the schedule and
let's jump right to the schedule because this is where things get interesting. We just talked about 8.5 was their win total, the juice to the under, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, if you take all of their look ahead lines, now again, these are markets you can bet into this moment if you so choose. If you take all of their look ahead lines and you convert them to expected win percentages, they only actually have 7 wins implied on their schedule, not 8.5. In fact, not even close. What do you make of that little wrinkle?
I think it is juice to the under, so it's more like a juicy over 8. So, but again, it's probably off by a full win, and there is a lot of variance in here. There's a lot of deviance, maybe with a team like this, where we don't fully understand what we're going to get from the most important position on the field. Like, what you're getting from the defense. We have some young weapons on this offense, but the quarterback has been a bit of a firebrand / all of a sudden he's not good anymore. Like, there's some question mark, and he's not getting any younger. So I think this is a team that has a lot of variance, a lot of deviance, and yeah, the implied total says bet the under. Not the worst bet in the world, just because as much as I like this team, I liked them last year. We followed along with our guy Chase Young. We were Washington football team stands. They have a tough schedule. I mean, just looking.
Where's the easy part?
Yeah, the easy part is just non-existent. Well,
where does it get soft for them?
We talked about who they faced last year for the 2 divisions they had to face, and this year it doesn't get any easier with the NFC South, which with a couple good teams, a couple maybe good teams, in the AFC West, you get the Raiders. And maybe Drew Lock is still slinging the ball up there, but it's still the Chargers, the Chiefs, and then your 3 teams that are not, just one from each other division there that they play: the Bills, the Packers, the Seahawks. And yeah, I guess the Packers maybe could be in a big pickle here, but if everything goes right and Rodgers is back for them, man, this is rough. I mean, their easiest game that's not a divisional game, obviously Vegas, but outside of that. And they're at Vegas. They have to travel there after a Monday night game.
After a Monday nighter, playing a team that's coming off a Thursday.
Yeah. So they're at the massive disadvantage there. The team is off Thursday. They're off a Monday. So literally their easiest opponent, probably by win total, the Vegas. Well, no, my outside of division. Outside of division, their easiest opponent is in what is known as the worst situational spot that we've found over the last few years, playing off a Monday night while the other team is off a Thursday night. So they get extra rest to your short rest. I
gotta tell you, man,
they might lose to Vegas. This is a bad schedule.
This is a really bad schedule. Like,
this is what stuck out to me this morning when I started doing a little review on this. It's like I had forgotten how bad this was. That was first in my notes. They got absolutely hosed by the schedule gods here. But yeah,
no bump off your bye because Tampa's also coming off of theirs. And oh, by the way, you have to go to Tampa, or you have to host Tampa as a touchdown dog. Like that's a loss. That 3-game stretch late in the season where you're coming off of Monday, playing Vegas coming off of Thursday, then you host Dallas on your one little island home game there. You're 1.5 point favorites against the Dallas team that is also coming off of Thursday night football. And then you have to go at Philly where they get a late season bye. And here you are just in the absolute, hell portion of your schedule. Oh yeah. And then play Dallas again. On your second week of back-to-backs. I mean put a stake in them at this point, right?
Close your eyes quick and kind of imagine that. Put yourself back in mid-January, mid to late January. It's championship weekend. Really good games, by the way. We had 2 really, really kind of fun games championship weekend. They were both fairly competitive. KC, honestly, the final score was I mean, they beat them by like 2 touchdowns, but Buffalo put up a fight. So yeah, I mean, I gave away the spoiler there. Buffalo, Kansas City, Tampa versus Green
And
Bay.
Green Bay. All of
Those are
them
the
are
4
under.
teams that were in the conference championship games. They have all 4
Holy
of them on their schedule
shit, man.
this year.
Not
Like,
just all 4 of them on their schedule, but they're all clustered.
they're very clustered. So,
3, 6, 7, 10. So you have to play the 4 conference semifinalists before week 10. Oh my goodness, man.
that's
Oh god.
yeah. Well, and
this
then I
is
mean,
so
and then
bad. I don't know
throw
why
a trip.
we did a whole schedule podcast and it did not sink in at that time.
Well,
This
we just kind
schedule
of
is
glossed
hell.
over the high notes, but and then again, your 2 easiest non-division are probably Denver and Vegas. You get both of them on the road.
Yeah.
One in the huge disadvantage spot we talked about, and another one in a back-to-back after facing Green Bay.
Yeah, at Carolina is your other kind of maybe cupcakey win. You're a dog on the road.
Yeah,
like what the hell?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
They're rough. And Ryan's making me laugh in here.
Okay,
so time to kill references, but yeah, it's not great. Like that's why
let's set aside for a second then the discontinuity between the implied wins and the actual win total, which I still don't 100% know why that exists, but let's just set that aside for a second. If you decompose these lines, the power number for the Washington football team is -2, so 2 points worse than an average team. That qualifies for 22nd best in the NFL and is just half a point better than the Giants and a point better than the Eagles. So the market, at least with these implied or these season-long look-aheads, is telling you that the Washington football team not all that much better than the Giants and the Eagles. And we'll save the surprise for the Dallas power number a little bit later. But if you can take the totals and decompose them as well, they're expecting Washington to have the 25th best offense and the 18th best defense. Now, does that jive considering
those should both go
the
other way, the opposite ways?
Like, you think so you think those are both somewhat conservative?
Yeah, I think better defense, worse offense. But again, and we talked a couple times when we have the odds up and we're saying, hey, how should we approach? Like, if you like this team, how would you approach them? You bet them to win the division if you like them. You know how you bet this team? Now that I'm thinking about it, it's a small bet I already placed. It's Fitzpatrick to win the MVP because that's what he needs to do to get this team to the playoffs. Like if he plays as well at like that game, he always has that one game. It's like, oh my god, this guy is like really good today.
I'm looking something up while you're talking. I'll give you one guess what I'm looking up.
I don't know. British Open stuff. Either way, but
the circa alt win under for the Washington football team.
Yeah, we'd said like, here's how you bet. I was getting to that. Here's how you bet on this team, and I think it's probably alts either way. Like if you really like this team, maybe get your head checked, I guess, or bet on Fitzmagic to win MVP or something like that. Fun, but yeah, if you're in agreement with some of these things we're saying about the schedule, maybe an under 5.5 for this team. I think you can probably get like a 3.5 to 1 on something like that.
I'm starting to think maybe the win bet number is more fair and the rest of the market is a little bit off here. Because you want to guess what under 7.5 wins for the Washington football team pays?
Plus 160.
Plus 170. God damn, you are on it. You were on it. Yes, plus 170.
I just went through the article from last year.
Oh, did you? So you know about what how they
I kind of had the numbers.
Okay. So so under. Okay, I will make a case right now. I will bet this. I will get down on under 7.5 here for this Washington football team at plus 170, and it is almost entirely schedule based, which is not always the best way to attack these. And again, especially because we were kind of looking down the board, you don't really ever want to take into account like what's happening week 12 on. In terms of, well, I'm going to make a bet on this team because of what's happening week 12 on, right? Like some of those games that look bad now might not be bad come, week 12. The Raiders could be starting their backup quarterback, whoever that is. I'll give you $10 if you could tell me who the Raiders backup quarterback is.
It's not Mariota anymore. He's gone.
I think Mariota is gone.
Marcus Tuiasosopo.
Oh, Mariota actually is still there. Oh, I thought Mariota absolutely moved on, but he is still
He
there.
owed me $10.
Oh,
Remember
maybe
when?
10
Remember when he came in? That was like a big deal. It was
I
Hawaiian
know, I
on
definitely do,
Hawaiian.
but I thought somebody else scooped him up.
Yeah, you could have fooled me on that. I haven't got to my Raiders research. I went with
No, I haven't either.
Tuiasosopo is my backup guess, but I think it is Derek Carr. Should we get to the quarterback?
Yeah, let's talk about Fitzmagic. Okay.
What?
You go take the stage is yours. What are your thoughts about Fitzmagic?
Is it an upgrade from? I mean,
From
let's
Heineke?
pretend.
Yes.
Let's pretend they could get Alex Smith back, and they could get that steady Eddie play, or like Haskins wasn't a knob dick and just an idiot about how he was not only playing but composing himself. It's an upgrade. Like, it's a dumb question. It's an upgrade because those are hypotheticals and they're stuck with like Heineke otherwise. So it's an upgrade, but who makes this kind of move? That's what my question about Ryan Fitzpatrick is, who makes this kind of move to get this quarterback at this age with the season you had last year, the roster you have right now? Like, what are they after? What do you think the expectations are? Everybody knows you're getting a pretty old quarterback who's never really, brought a team to the promised land. Like that.
Okay,
that's
so
where I want
team-
your head. Like, if you're Rivera and the rest, like, what do you
from
think
a team building, from a team building vision standpoint? How did we end up here? This is classic. Good job by you guys getting into a playoff, playing hard. Really kind of developing some of your young talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Like, great job. No demerits there. But then to turn around and decide we're closer than we are, we think we are closer than we are, and to then try to make what the best possible move on the board for you, because quarterback rich draft, but you don't have a ton of assets. In fact, you have a history of your owner giving away lots of draft capital to move up into the top of the draft, and that didn't work out for you with Robert Griffin III. So there's really not a path to quarterback replacement for you in the draft, which is absolutely your best opportunity to really kind of revitalize, to really kind of continue to build on the unexpected success of 2020. So then plan B becomes, well, we are close enough now. Maybe we can steal the division again, get another playoff run. Maybe we win a playoff game this year. We're going to progress that way. So best way to do that is we are going to go to the free agency market and we are going to get the best quarterback in free agency. But you know what, Andy? There is never a good quarterback in free agency. Not ever. There never will be. And you probably would have been maybe better off doing something insane like the Panthers did and trading for a Sam Darnold and just seeing if he had anything. But instead they go after Fitzpatrick. Now, Ryan Fitzpatrick has exceeded expectations at every step of his entire career in the NFL. And so it is tough for me to really be especially critical of him, but I do not think the fit is great with the Scott Turner offense. Scott Turner wants to throw the ball down. He wants to push it. Fitzpatrick is willing to take those chances. Fitzpatrick is a very cerebral guy. He's very good at kind of evaluating what's going on in front of him in the field of play and making a good decision. He obviously had some absolutely spectacular comebacks with the Miami Dolphins in getting them close to the playoffs last year. But I do not see a really strong reason to build around him at this point, or build an offense around him at this point. If you are the Washington football team, because he does the one thing that could potentially, take away from your success this year, which is the untimely turnover, right? And turnovers are fluky. It's stupid to really kind of, go above and beyond and say, well, yeah, he turns the ball over. You can't win like that. But at the same time, like, this team is not good enough from a scoring point standpoint to sustain a couple of random fumbles hints over the course of him playing a full 60 minutes. Would you agree?
Yeah. And that's not how this team wins. This team wins by, not turning the ball over, playing tough defense and just grinding out a game. And it's funny too, like, something in my head said, like, all right, pragmatist Andy running this team says, maybe it's like these people are smart enough. Rivera, everybody just says like, hey, we weren't as good of a team as people made us out to be last year. It was fluky. But really, their Pythag was 8.2, depending on where you look. Like they won the amount of games they should have technically, according to the points. And you can get deeper into some of the more quantitative stuff on that and maybe poke some holes in it. But even with that, I would say like, hey, like maybe we weren't a good team. We were just an okay team who ended up in the right place at the right time. We're still a year away. So I don't know what the plan is with, like, it's not a long-term plan, obviously, because he'd have to retire eventually. But also, like, it's not a great draft. It's not a quarterback-rich draft. I'm not sure what, just what the plan is long term here. So it sucks because I think that's what they, like, basically all they need. They've drafted decent. They've added nice players. They really, really could use a quarterback. And it's the same in a lot of places. Like there's 15, 18 teams. Like, man, if we had a really good quarterback, well, yeah, it goes a long way. So I just don't know what the plan is here. And it was a tough free agency class, I guess. You know what? When you miss on a high draft pick, when you miss on a Haskins, that sets you back a little. Everything else I did, they liked, or everything else they did, I liked. It just they need a plan. And I guess maybe the fact is if you're not going to be drafting very high, it's not that great of a class. Maybe you can find a quarterback in the middle of the first, in the second, something like that. So long term, I'm not sure. I still think it's a team on the rise. They just need to figure out quarterback in the next few years. And like, I'm not super bullish on it because, like what you said, with Fitzpatrick being a little bit volatile, turning it over a little too much here and there. It's not what I'm excited for this team, especially against this schedule, against some nasty ass defenses, Buffalo, Tampa, things like that, things of that nature. So not excited about this team.
All right. I mean, they lost some pretty key depth on defense, on top of the fact that their defense performed a little bit above expectation last year. So I get, and defense is random year over year, and it's more of a reflection of who you're playing and blah, 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 blah. So I get downgrading their defensive expectation coming into this season. 18 seems, out of 32 seems a little aggressive, but I'm fine if you want to say they have an average or a little bit better than average defense this year. It doesn't exactly gel, though, with winning football because their secondary still is hugely questionable. They have not made moves, and in my opinion, to truly shore up the weakness on their defense. You could pass on this team. Their only addition in the secondary, they bring in William Jackson III. Darryl Roberts added for depth. Neither of those guys moves the needle for me at all. They lose Ryan Kerrigan. Yeah, Kerrigan was some redundancy. Sure, you let him go. Some of the other kind of depth linebacking core all moves on that may not matter, but I don't know what a path to victory looks like for this team against a better than average team, which is what almost their entire schedule is comprised of. Like, what is a path to victory for Washington against Buffalo? Like, you're rushing pass rushing constantly, and you're sacking Josh Allen 8 times. Like what exactly? How are you stopping a Buffalo offense from hanging 30 on you?
You're just not. Even if you're not stopping them from hanging 24 on you, how do you get to 24 versus Buffalo? It's just, especially if there's an untimely.
That's the other half of the conversation, which I wasn't even getting to yet.
Untimely turnover or two, and you're just toast against good teams because you don't have the offense to catch up. The defense, let's say, even if the defense is better than projected, if it's in that 12 to 15 range, or even like 10 to 13 range, it's still, you're playing Brady, you're playing Josh Allen, you're playing Mahomes, you're playing maybe Rodgers. Actually, do they have the Broncos on their schedule?
They do.
Maybe they play Rodgers either way. Who knows what's going to happen there? So it's not great. Yeah, I wish I was higher on this team because they were so fun last year. But if the defense takes a little step back and the quarterback, any struggles, it's going to be kind of a long year. I don't know if I've seen a team where it's just like the schedule's so bad we just can't get behind them. They don't have the team to play this type of schedule this year. So probably an underplay on this one. Yeah. Tune in next Wednesday, Win Total Wednesday. Got that one. That one's written already.
Win total Wednesday. You know what else is kind of funny? And you tried to
Spell
put
it
the
with
stink.
the win though.
You with the cursive W, yeah.
Fancy.
You know what? You tried to put the stink on the Browns, saying that they were the team that everybody's real high on the Browns. I think it's Washington. I think there are a lot of people who feel like they missed out on Washington last year. They didn't see it coming. They reflect on their performances and like, wow, that
The
team
Miami
actually
Heat.
was. Yeah, sure. And they're like, whoa, wow, actually, that team might have been pretty good. Like, I think they added Ryan Fitzpatrick. He was great in those high leverage moments from Miami. That's definitely repeatable.
He was great on top 10 on Sports Center when I finally caught his games.
Yes, he had the beard and the chain. That guy's got swagger. Like that is my buzz team, Washington football team. Look out for them.
That checks out.
Yeah, I got to tell you, this
Alt
is
unders.
not alt unders. I think alt unders is the play, and I guess 7 and 10 gets it done. 7 and 10 gets it done. Here's go. Can you pull up the schedule for us one more time, please, producer Dan, our outstanding producer? What week are we cashing our under 7.5 on the Washington football team, Andy?
The Monday night game against Seattle?
Probably.
Or Dallas. They're favored against Dallas too. That's the thing. Like, what if Dallas's offense clicks like it can? Kellen Moore gets it, and Dallas is just like 2 auto losses because you're not. This is not a team where Dallas. And we'll get to Dallas again momentarily, but if Dallas clicks on offense, our defense is still probably going to be pretty bad. This is not a team that can do a track meet. Remember the Atlanta game last year? That's not what Washington needs. They can't do a track meet game. And if Dallas's offense is good, there's 2 track meets you're in. That sucks. So yeah, this is week 13, 14, and then you're just sweating the alts at that point.
Even their only
Circle will be in Iowa in like 2 or 3 weeks, apparently.
Even their only expected win in the first half of their schedule against the New York Giants is not a super duper spot. You got Terry McLaurin can get wiped out by Bradbury, and your offensive line was completely unable to do anything against that Giants defensive line in either head-to-head last year, and that was kind of that was a lot of what the offensive success for the Washington football team ended up being last year was was dictated by them winning in the trenches. But you can't beat the Giants in the trenches. So that, I definitely, this is the angle. I don't know that there's a better one in this entire division, to be honest with you. And I feel silly now in retrospect, commenting on the off market plus 325. I want no part of that. No part of that.
No. And the schedule throws cold water on anything nice you can say about this team, and that just kind of sucks. If you're a fan, if you want to back him, it sucks. So, and Sam disagrees. He likes, I don't know, he might like the Redskins.
Super high on the Washington football team.
I called them Redskins already this year. Yeah, maybe they come up with a name this year. That would be cool if they came up with a name.
I'm going to take the $10 that I owe you for the Mariota correct pick. I'm going to put it in the Redskins swear jar for you.
Yeah. And like I was saying, I will have Circa here soon.
The R-word swear jar.
The schedule's fair. Like, if they had an easy schedule, like Fitzpatrick against an easy defense, that's fun. Like let's say Bradbury regresses or something.
Oh yeah,
they might just truck New York. Like that would be a fun game for them, but the schedule's too much for them. So
yeah, their pass rush is going to be good against New York, but that's probably going to be a hell of an under game. I know I was kind of hoping and praying that we got an over spot there, just so that the Giants would be inflated totals in weeks 3, 4, 5, 6, but I don't know how that game's going over. That's going to be a tough one. You want to guess what the look ahead total in that Washington football New York Giants game is?
42.
43. Good guess, man. Good guess. I'm
42
really bummed
felt low. 42 just feels
I'm really
low
bummed
for
about
anything.
this Mariota thing, man. I really thought it was Nathan Peterman and Mariota had moved on, but it is Marcus Mariota for the backup for the Raiders. But Washington football team backup, Taylor Heineke. If something happens to old ass Fitzmagic, Heineke, who knows? He might have a pulse. He might be the next Gardner Minshew. Performing over his pay grade for a couple of years. Who knows? Not that gets you any wins, but
no. And then just like the turnover. You wanted to talk quick turnover and injury luck. Final kind of closing thought on them.
Yeah, it wasn't. I thought they were lucky turnover wise, but they actually had a negative turnover differential.
Yeah,
Did you see that?
well, it wasn't bad though. It wasn't like egregious for a team of their. They still were not a good team. They were not some winning team. They were, they just snuck by. So
Yeah.
to have that turnover luck, but the injury luck outside of quarterback, I don't think was too bad. So, yeah, a little injury luck, throw it in with the schedule. The turnovers get a little worse, and all of a sudden you got a 4-win team. So, Godspeed, Washington football team.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not like I have a Fitzpatrick to win the MVP ticket in my account.
All of like the intangible stuff about Washington is head scratching. Ironically, I mean, honestly, like they gave up more sacks than they got. I would not have guessed that. they gave up. Do
you remember the Rams game?
Hardly got any fumbles, even though they had that vicious D line that was constantly putting guys on their back. It's fumbles. Kind of wild.
Yeah, but do you remember that Rams game where Alex Smith had to step in and he got sacked like 6 times by?
I forgot. Oh, yeah.
Remember, like the first play, it's like, oh, Aaron Donald.
I had to erase
Aaron
that
Donald's on his back. Like this isn't good.
Yeah, I had to erase that from my memory. Yikes.
Yikes. So.
Yeah. No, and injury luck wasn't that bad for them either. Obviously, they had quarterback injury problems, but their quarterback sucked anyway, so it didn't really matter. Their defense was relatively healthy, and now their defense is a little thinner. So, Washington football team, if they have any defensive injuries, it could go sideways on them real quick. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
America's team.
Is that what they call them?
Some people have called it to win. Oh, somebody made a chart here. I'm on Twitter now. I'm gonna have to look at this chart. He made a GIF. I really like this. Deep value better. Look at this guy making charts for me. All right, Dallas. Yes, we're on to Dallas. Last year was a shit show. Like we probably, again, I didn't go back and listen to all our previews. We were very excited about this offense. What might have been, and it wasn't just the massive injuries on the offensive line. I mean, there was actually more continuity than people think, but Collins, Smith, Martin, those are good players. Those are very good players. They all missed time. Obviously, what was week 5, week 6, Dak breaks his ankle. Andy Dalton didn't turn out to be a great backup, but even he would have been better than the DiNucci's and the Gilbert Grapes. What is it? Garrett Gilberts. Yeah, those were not good things. Those were bad things to happen to this team. So, yeah, and a lot of people don't even remember the Andy Dalton injury. Like he got concussed bad. Remember that? Like that's what forced their hand there. Yeah. So like it went sideways at quarterback. It went sideways at offensive line. But a big part of it was the play calling. Like it was just like, our guy JG Gilbert. I almost said Gilbert again, but he's up in New York. There, it's like he left his handprint on there, and Kellen Moore just regressed. I don't know. I think we thought we'd get more of Kellen Moore, and I don't know. Do you think it was Kellen Moore's play calling, or did it have the stink of McCarthy on it? I liked him better than that. I liked him better. The lack of play action,
fell apart, man. It all fell apart under Jason Garrett, really. God damn, man. We're not going to get this middle in the WNBA. I'm going to close that tab. We need overtime. I don't know if that's happening. Anyway, coming in, you had one of the better CLV plays of the preseason. Yeah, the Dallas
over 9, like minus 10 or something.
Yeah, and did that close at 10? It basically went up a whole win. You had CLV on the Dallas over 9, and honestly, I was jealous. I was like, I really hope something happens to Dak and he doesn't get that because it's too good. I'm just kidding. I did not say that. But I
bet Brian Harmon for you today.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That was very nice.
Team play.
Yeah, but ultimately, I do want to share the blame here between McCarthy and Kellen Moore. And you can actually go back to week 1 when it all started to fall apart, like out of the gate, it fell apart. You remember week 1 they were up against the Rams? And McCarthy just had absolutely no concept about when to go for it, when to kick the field goal, what the stakes were in that game, what the expected, how many points were ultimately going to be scored, what they needed to do to get a win. I mean, yes, that there was a fluky, was it an OPI on Gallup at the end of that game that kept them from getting a chance to kick the game-winning field goal? I think it was an OPI potentially, or it was an ignored DPI on Ramsey. But whatever the case was, that was a poorly coached game from McCarthy. And watching that in prime time on Sunday Night Football, Week 1, it was kind of a now I remember why my opinion of McCarthy was what it was before this season. And Kellen Moore did nothing to sort of dispel any concerns you had about the offense functioning as effectively as they ought to, considering their talent, right? This was an offense that did not match its talent, even when everyone was healthy. And then all of the wheels fell off because if you went going into this season, I was making the case, this Cowboys team, they have a terrible defense, but the offense is amazing. Their path to victory to win games is scoring 30 points. They have the potential to be one of the highest scoring teams across all of the NFL. I thought that was a good play last year at whatever it was, 10-1, 12-1. And it was never really that likely because the aggressiveness really wasn't there offensively. They didn't have a very good concept of how they were going to use their 3 incredible wide receivers. They consistently still wanted to try to engage minus or like less than, lower than replacement level tight end play. And Zeke Elliott was a fumble machine on top of the lesser of the 2 running backs on their roster. And they continued to try to force feed him. And that's this is the consequence when you give a running back of the Zeke Elliott mold, when you back up the Brinks truck for him off of a couple of impressive seasons as a young player. This is the consequence. He gets older, he loses a step, he starts to get a fumbling problem, and all you can really do as the owner or general manager is put pressure on the on the coaching staff to give him more touches, right? Like no one has enough clout to go into Jerry Jones's office and say, we're going to bench Zeke and we're going to give Tony Pollard 25 touches this week. No one's got the clout.
No one can say that.
No one can say that.
And to be fair to your highest scoring thing, like it was probably dead. It was dead in the cradle just based off the fact that was how Kellen and McCarthy were going to run things. But losing a star quarterback in Week 5 was not good for that. It wasn't good for any bet you made on Dallas, obviously. So I think, the biggest story is probably the injuries, but hidden in that is the lack of aggressiveness from the coaching staff you get a Ferrari and you drive it up and down the driveway. No, you let that thing rip. Go get badly injured or something. Now, don't do that, but at least drive it fast. I bought a car once and they told me go take this out in the interstate. I bought it brand new. They said you should get it up to 120. It's good to break the engine like that. I was 20 something. I'm okay. You don't tell me twice. But yeah, they're driving it like Rain Man said. He let them drive it in the driveway on Sundays once in a while. Let them back it up. That's not what you do with this offense. They need to be more aggressive, more play action, more bunch of receiver sets. All 3 of those receivers should be on the field a lot together. And just the 2 tight end bullshit needs to stop with basically all of this. Let's move on to the 21st century. If you're gonna have all these stars, I'd like to see this offense be fun.
So, but what's the key for this though? For 2021, for the offense to be fun, what has to happen? What has to what has to happen? The offensive line, all of those guys who are another year older have to play a full season healthy. Dak has to be healthy. Dak has to be exactly as effective as he was the year before last year in terms of diagnosing.
Coming off a major injury
Coming off a major injury now, and the overall offensive scheming and concept has to take a huge step forward, or in some cases a step backward to the first 3 games of the 2019 season, which is the last time I really remember being impressed by this offense. So it's crazy, man.
I'm excited about this 2022 team with a new coach. Jerry's very hesitant to.
Who's the right fit? Brian Daboll?
Oh man, that would be fun. Brian Daboll, and bring his own staff in, get a good young offensive coordinator with some bright ideas, and say let this rip. Like if you're the Cowboys, it sucks. Jerry Jones has only fired one coach mid-season. That was Bum Phillips, and that was a weird year. Like, and he doesn't like to admit when he was wrong. So like even after this season, if it's not successful, maybe a coin flip that McCarthy's gone. So if you're a Cowboys fan, just seeing what if I were a Cowboys fan, I hope I win like one game this year. I hope this team stinks so bad that there's no doubt that McCarthy would be gone. That
We're gonna get to their schedule, and it's the opposite of the Washington football team.
No, and as Washington was unlucky by having a tough ass schedule, Dallas might be unlucky by having an easy schedule because best case
I hadn't thought of that.
Best case is that how else are you going to get rid of Wade Phillips? I'd say Bum.
Yeah, I think you did say Bum. Yeah,
it's Son of Bum on Twitter. That's why I always say Bum.
Yeah, well, you're blocked by him, so you wouldn't know that his name was Wade. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that was a fair kind of recap of the 2020 season, as disappointing as it was. But God, dude, they were even alive week 17, and all they had to do was beat the damn Giants as favorites, and they couldn't freaking do it. Like it was
just a poorly coached team.
It was just so bad. And I don't know that changes overnight. Maybe, but
it does not. No, it changes when they get rid of them.
Yeah. So let's look at their odds. The favorites for this miserable division are the Dallas Cowboys.
I think this is why we said bet the Eagles or the Giants to win the division.
Well, yeah, but no rush, really. Like you can collect a little bit of information before you fire away on this stuff. God, somebody's going to win this division with 7 games again, and it's going to be 7-10 instead of 7-9 this year. Win the Super Bowl 30-1, LOL. Win the NFC 15-1, LOL. Make the playoffs -150, LOL. -150. Boy, man.
It's still the NFC, and just if this offense is good by accident, just by having that much star power, having that good of a quarterback, having a healthy, cohesive offensive line, and a couple of running backs who are one's overpaid and older, but one's pretty decent still. Like this team could get into the playoffs despite themselves in an NFC like this, based off an easy schedule. I think that make the playoffs odds is probably bang on.
Okay.
I'm not excited to bet it. I think it's bang on as far as there's no value.
Regular season,
I wouldn't bet a no.
Regular season win total over 9.5, +104, under 9.5, -125. So this one's interestingly juiced to the under, even though everyone seemingly in the market has enthusiasm that this is the best team in the division. What goes along with the best team in the division? Presumably you get a lot of division wins. And I don't know why 9.5 is being bet to the under if this is truly a coin flip that these guys ultimately get a playoff spot. If we flip to the schedule, it is similarly as you laid it out. This is advantageous in all of the ways that the Washington football team's schedule was not. They are favorites in a lot of these games, and a lot of them by more than a field goal, and a lot of them because I guess we're expecting the Cowboys to have a meaningful home field advantage. Does that check out to you?
I mean, with fans back, that maybe makes a difference, especially with some of these teams having a whole year of playing in front of very few or sparse crowds. A big stadium like that with full of rowdy Texans, maybe home field takes a little bump up early in the season.
Their favorite in every home game.
Yeah. But I mean, and some of these it's just like, Philly and the Giants have so many question marks. If this offense is good, like they should be favored. I think those are too big of numbers. I think almost every one of those numbers is a little too big outside of maybe the Vegas one at home and probably Denver at home, 4.5. Like I'd agree with those, but the rest are probably a half point high. I think the Dallas power rating that the schedule is going to imply is going to be higher than mine. And yeah, it is an easy schedule though. Like a rough start, Tampa and the Chargers. If you really want to back Dallas, maybe there's your entry point. Wait till they're 0-2 or 1-1.
Great segue. What do you think?
Don't bet them now.
What is the market move on them from +105 to what as they are 0-2 heading into that Monday night Philly game?
If they're 0-2, it's not a massive move because it's still so early in the season. You don't have that time decay, and they still have a lot of implied wins on the schedule. But maybe you get like 140.
Okay.
That'd feel a lot better. Like if I'm betting Dallas to win the division, I'm letting those two games play out. And if they beat those two teams, then God bless them. I missed out my opportunity. That was a fluke. That likely isn't happening that often, and I'll take that result, and I'll be happy with, playing it the way I did anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting that look ahead they are favored at the Giants and at Philly. So you're favored in 4 out of your 6 divisional games. And no real nasty situational spots to really kind of digest here. The Carolina one's not ideal because you're coming off of Monday Night Football and they're coming off of Thursday Night Football. We might get a nice price. 0-2 is like 0-1 now. Yeah,
that's true. The math.
That's true. That's right. But yeah, that Carolina spot might be a fun spot to back Carolina. You might get a bunch of points there. That I could see that being higher than 5.5 come kickoff. Just seeing, unless Carolina somehow surprises everyone first couple weeks of the season. But yeah, this is a soft schedule. It's easy. It is a lot of clustered home games. The clustered road games they're not huge dogs. They could win some of those via coin flip, I would think. You have 3 road games in a row, 13, 14, 15, obviously. In my opinion, at least, when you have a streak of road games later in the season, it matters less than if it is earlier in the season.
Yep.
And I think that's just because other factors start to kick in, like injuries and scheme and stuff, like player development. Other factors really change your team's performance down the home stretch of the season, more so than having to travel 3 weeks in a row. For regular season games, for playoff games with the intensity so high, I would have a different opinion. But
yeah, and really too, like again, a team that I'm not super excited to get behind, but their last 5 games are teams that I'm a little lower on than the market. So I might be a Dallas backer at some point during the season. Probably not anything past to win the division to make the playoffs if those numbers are off what I think they should be. I don't think there's any reasonable reason to bet them to win the NFC.
Yeah,
the NFC is wide open, but like going at Tampa, I mean, you'll have a preview of that pretty quick.
Especially because they're plus 100. Like there's a price point where I am not making a play on a team, even if I think the market is wrong, because I think that you'll get more bites at the apple, more opportunities to bet them game by game, then you're going to be locking up that same bankroll for a future. That
I like to split that up.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? A little on
the future, and then still bet them game by game.
Like going back to like our Philly example, Philly 5-1, right? Like that's a team that I think people will be very slow to react to if they surprise positively, and so you're going to get a lot of squeezes there to bet them game by game as a dog with the points, in some decent spots. Where I'd rather approach it that way than really go whack that division number.
Cowboys on Hard Knocks too. Remember that? Yeah, that's.
That's right.
That's true. The Hard Knocks spot
with all the.
Oh God. We've gone through all 4 teams real quick.
Yeah, real quick to put a bow on power number. Dallas's ends up -1, 13th best in the NFL. That again, compared to a +2. Excuse me, I say -1. Dallas is a +1, 1 point better than an average team. That compares to -2 for Washington, -2.5 for New York, -3 for Philly. You break down their offensive and defensive expectations. Offense expected to be 7th best. Defense expected to be 23rd.
7th seems aggressive. 23rd feels right. I'll get to the defense when we talk about them next. My biggest takeaway now that between Monday and today, we've gone through the odds, we've gone through the schedules, and for the most part, besides Dallas, we've gone through up and down these teams. My biggest takeaway on the odds to make the playoffs is that there might be value in some other teams in the NFC because all these teams
Which
are taking
division
up a
would
little
you
bit
say?
of Oh, I'm going to save that for later. But I mean, a little bit the West, a little bit
NFC
the
South, right?
South.
NFC
I
South
think
gets to play these guys.
Yeah, I think the South and the West for sure. There's some value on some because they take up part of the win market. Like, Philly, New York, Washington, even Dallas. All four of these numbers to make the playoffs, they're taking up a decent chunk of equity, and I don't think there's a wild card out of this. So, I think that this is creating some value on some other teams to make the playoffs. My power number on Dallas is probably going to be fairly close. And I think the 8.5 implied is right. Somebody has to win this division. This is just an ucky division to try to predict anything because as much as I like what Dallas has, I think the coaching staff might muck it up.
Yep, that sounds about right. And also they have I guess let's transition right. I agree with all of that. Let's transition right to defense because this was the easy way to pick on this team last year.
Yeah.
And it's like let's talk about defense broadly before getting into this team specifically. They had one of those problems where they couldn't stop the run, right? And it's counterintuitive that matters when we think the running backs running game is less important than passing, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, like if there is the easiest possible path to victory for your opponent, they're going to take that path to victory. And if that is, we can score a touchdown, get a 3 and out and then run the ball down your throat for 45 minutes, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so that's why like the run stopping has to kind of meet the Mendoza line, so to speak. And if your run stop unit doesn't get up to at least sort of league decent, not like even league average,
passable,
but just like passable, and teams can get plus. If teams are getting plus EPA per rush on you, you are absolutely effed. Like absolutely.
Yeah, you can't get out of your own way. If you're behind, and
you will
can't stop the
never
run, you're dead.
You'll never see the ball again. You'll never see the ball again. The next thing you're losing 41-7 against the Arizona Cardinals on Monday Night Football, right? Like it's that level of brittleness if you can't stop the run to the level that we saw the Cowboys last year. So what do? They invest almost all of their draft capital.
Oh my God!
I wrote this down.
They're not only that, but their 4 highest paid acquisitions were on the defensive side of the ball. Their first 6 draft picks in a row were all on the defensive side of the ball. 8 out of 13 total draft picks?
Sure.
We're on and this is so, and I have mixed feelings. Like it's the right move, but as we've discussed this before, like it's the right move, but outside of pass rush, defense doesn't just step in. I mean, some of these were acquisitions through free agency, a little different than a rookie, but you could draft 8 rookies. It's really hard to get those guys to just step in like, hey, you're playing a big role and we need you to really improve the defense right now. Defense being as reactive as it is. And I can't remember who was it Dr. Eric that spoke? He spoke well better than me at this. Wow.
He spoke well better?
He did. Oh. He spoke well better than this on me, but somebody really, really eloquently put this. It says like a pass rusher is just go kill the quarterback. And, there's better left tackles at the NFL. It's going to be tougher, but it's still the same concept where you're facing so many different looks as a defender in the NFL, coming up as a rookie, being a corner, a safety, a linebacker, even, a run stuffer. It's so much more difficult that these guys, the learning curve is so much tougher on a defensive rookie. So I'm not hopeful for this defense to turn around. I don't think you are either. Keanu Neal and maybe Micah Parsons. The rest, are you excited about anything else they've added to this defense?
No, but I think I'm fine making this assumption heading into 2021. The change in scheme, just by bringing in a guy with a pulse, combined with the fact that they've invested this much capital in terms of acquisitions and draft capital, like, are they going to meet the Mendoza line for stopping the run? I'm fine assuming yes. Fine. That's fine. So what does that mean?
I like Dan Quinn as a coordinator. Like maybe this is another one of these guys we talk about year in and year out where, hey, you might be a shitty head coach, but I think you're a fine defensive coordinator. And I think he absolutely meets that criteria. I think he's going to be It's an upgrade. Like it's for sure an upgrade on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, he's got a pulse. He's got a pulse, and
So-
they invested a lot. So I'm
Yeah.
fine saying that they meet the Mendoza line for
Oh,
stopping the
damn.
run, but he did fire himself.
He did fire himself. It's hard to be a D coordinator while you're a head coach. I think
Right.
focusing in on this, he can be an okay defensive coordinator. They brought in so many pieces, it can't get worse, right?
Right. Okay, so but
That's
what
right.
does that get you? But what does this get you now? Now you can stop the run. Now you are in games.
Getting the ball
Right?
back.
If you can get the ball back. No team can play keep away against you. Like you'll have opportunities, presumably, to get the ball back. How are you putting away leads on defense? Is your pass defense strong enough to prevent prevent string of completions as teams are in comeback mode against you? It is not. Is your pass rush strong enough to get the key sack to end a comeback drive? It is not.
I don't hate their pass rush. I think their pass rush will be improved. I don't think it's going to be good.
Not good enough to consistently get off the field when you have the lead, right? So where I'm going with this is literally every game is going to be in the balance until the final whistle. This might be a very fun team to watch. In fact, there has been years where I've been like, oh my God, the Cowboys are on primetime again. Please don't do it to us. But this year, I will be fine watching a lot of these Cowboys games. They are going to be fun. They will be in every game, right?
How many wins did they have last year?
It wasn't a lot, but 5 and 11, right?
I think they had 6.
They were 6 and 10. I don't remember, but
I think it was 6 and 10. And how often? And that speaks to, hey, Dallas is a public team. Dallas is America's team. How many teams win 6 games and then have 6 primetime games the next year? They have
one.
Yeah,
one.
Just one.
Just the one. Yeah.
One for every win last year.
Yeah. But I guess my point is really, though, the defense may be improved, but it's still not improved enough that I think you can lay points with this team. But I think if we see the offense take a step forward, if Dak returns to the level of play we saw in 2019, will we be, this will be a fun team to bet on as a dog if and when they are a dog. But as you saw from that schedule, they're going to be home chalk a lot. And I'm not going to be laying points in very many, if any, of those games. Although there might be some good, halftime plays to make on them if they're down. Some live plays to make on them if they're down.
Yeah, live team total overs, maybe.
Live team total overs.
If they can stop the run.
Second half overs. Yeah, all of those will be fun ways to bet this team.
The biggest question mark too, and we haven't even got to this. We're just like, oh, the offensive line. There's so many ifs, and this is what we do in the summer. There's a lot of ifs, but if Dak is good is the biggest. If no, I don't think anything else matters. If you stop the run and Dak is hampered, or God's forsake, we're playing a DiNucci game or something again, then nothing else matters. That was a really gross injury. And everybody in the, when they're recovering, they say, oh, like, yeah, I'm feeling good. Like I could play today. And you never hear like, oh yeah, worst shape of my life. I'm really hurt. Like I might never play again. I don't think I'll ever be good again for sure. Like they don't say that. So it's tough to
Kawhi Leonard says stuff like that.
Kawhi Leonard might say stuff like that. He's a lunatic. But really, like the biggest crux of everything is Dak's returning from this injury and being at least like 80-90% of what he once was when he was real good a couple years ago. So that's the biggest thing for me. That's the biggest reason why I probably won't lay it with this team. I won't lay it. I think a lot of these home favorite lines are probably overfavored. It could be a team that's like 10-7, wins the division, goes like 5-12 against the spread. Just wins all these games, doesn't cover a single one of them.
I gotta ask you one really kind of, this might be like I don't want this to come across as a hot takey kind of deal. But I was looking up Dak's advanced stats.
Hot take.
I was looking up his advanced stats for the first 3 years in the league, 17, 18, 19. What would you guess his combined rating, EPA per play, EP per pass, CPOE, type of rating would be of all quarterbacks in that 3-year sample window.
Just EPA, just a shade
E-
positive,
EPA per play. It's positive.
like
It's
point oh, like 0.2,
0.095. It's
point
positive. Yeah, it's positive. This is 2,079 plays, so this is a relatively large sample size here. But what would you guess ranking wise among all quarterbacks in that 3-year window?
I mean, if it's only a point, like that's middle of the pack, isn't it?
It's 19th.
Yeah,
I was surprised by this. I was kind of looking this up because I wanted to be like, can he go back to being the 4th best quarterback? And I was like, wait, what? Why? Why am I misremembering like that he was like an especially outstanding top 5 type of quarterback when there's really not a lot of advanced data that you can point to that he was like especially amazing.
Yeah, good scrambler, good weapons, needs a good coach, and he can be top 10. And he needs to be healthy. We don't know if he's going to be tentative on this injury coming back. We don't know if he's going to be 100%. So he's such a massive question mark that I am not interested. He's another reason I'm just not interested in laying a team that's likely a little overvalued. Someone has to win this division, though. Like that's going to be. We need to get that on a T-shirt.
Somebody's got to win. No matter how I tweak this data, also like I can't get it to where he really like stands out as especially good. And I'm not sure if I can wrap my head around this. Like he's in the ballpark of the Derek Carrs and the Jared Goffs of the world.
It's hard to have a good CPOE or EPA per pass when you're throwing swing passes to Zeke that just land on the ground, though. Like some of it does have to be the play calling. JG, Kellen Moore. Like if the play calling is going to be what the play calling was, it's hard to have elite numbers.
Yeah. Okay. That checks out.
That is part of it. It's not the whole problem, but part of it is going to be the play calling.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think that solves itself this year.
So if you had to say over under 10.5 best quarterback in the NFL in 2021, are you taking? I guess under would mean he's in the top 10.
Means good.
Over means he finishes outside the top 10.
I'd go over. I think he has the talent to be top 5 if in the right situation with the right. And I just think the coaching and possibly the injury is going to hold him back. So yeah, like he's probably in that 12 to 15 range.
Okay. What's going to change your mind if you see it on Sundays?
It's going to be the play calling, the play sequencing. Okay. Like for sure.
So nothing Dak can really do himself.
No, well, I mean, a big part of it is like, oh, he looks fine. Like, remember when Mahomes had the toe injury? And you could kind of tell, like, he's not doing there was a big lane. He didn't run. He normally would run in that lane. Like, I think that toe's bothering him. If you can see him in preseason and camp and he looks real good on that foot, that ankle, it doesn't look like it's bothering him at all. And then that doesn't tell the whole story. You need to see him against live, a full go defense on another team. If he looks good against that, maybe that's the other half of the equation. I need that. Plus, I need the play calling, play sequencing, game planning. I need it to be a lot better. Otherwise, I don't know if I'm interested in this team. We have 4 teams we're not interested in this division.
Somebody's got to win. Why can't us?
If you had to bet one at their current odds to win the division,
the highest confidence I have of any of these 8 units is that the Giants defense is underrated.
Yeah, I was going to say I would bet the Giants. I think I'd have to go look at their schedule again just based off the price.
And honestly, like if you were to say of the 8 positional coaches and of the 8 different offenses and defenses, my favorite roster
Schwartz.
And my favorite Schwartz is gone.
Yeah.
He's gone.
Yeah.
My favorite combination of personnel and position and grouping coach is the Giants defense and Graham. Like and honestly, and I'm saying this somewhat somewhat in the context of the market is rating them as like a 21st best defense right now, which I think is embarrassingly wrong. and offense wins games, not defense. So it's stupid to really kind of base this on defense. But yeah, I mean, that's why Sirianni, coach of the year, 50-1 or whatever insane number somebody found, or just some bet the dog, bet the price at every opportunity seems like the right plan. Don't watch these games unless it's a Cowboys comeback type of situation. I don't know.
Yeah, and another good point by Deep Value Better there, saying like you might not see Dak take a single snap against another team in the preseason. Like if you want to see him play preseason, you're gonna have to go find like clips from the local beat reporters from camp and see him like running around at camp. Like you might not see him play in any of the preseason games, which truthfully,
you know what?
I don't know
Andy?
if that's what I want to see anyway.
I got great news for you. You're not going to have to look that hard. NFL Network's going to put it right on television for you.
Oh,
or HBO. Excuse me, HBO. HBO's going to put it right on your
Knock
HD
on wood if you're with
TV.
me.
Yeah, we're going to get some great storylines out of that, I'm sure. So we'll learn a lot more about the Cowboys before they kick off against Tampa Bay week 1. Are they double-digit dogs yet, or is it just trending that way? 8 points.
Eight seems like a fair number.
So what's the teaser leg with Tampa on that?
Oh, week 1. I might have to. Week 1, and your teaser leg Buffalo is 6.5 over the Steelers. That's not quite enough. How about Niners over Lions? That's a road game, 7.5. I don't love that. Indy to the Colts is not great. Yeah, we're gonna put a teaser together here.
Who do we think has a pulse that we can tease out past the touchdown? Dog with the pulse.
What about the Patriots hosting the Dolphins? They're a favorite. Never mind, 7.5. There's not a great second teaser leg for this. Indy hosting the Colts is a favorite. Here we go. Seattle as a road dog heading to the Colts. 2.5 teased up to 8.5.
I like that. You know what else I like?
Wins early.
Can I get Green Bay plus 2.5 teased out to 8.5 against the Saints?
I thought about that, but I don't think you'll have that number.
That up.
You'd have to bet that now.
I might bet that now.
You'd have to bet that now because that number probably changes based on things that happen. Injury luck was our last topic there. When a team shoots 10 for 13 from 3 in the first half of a college basketball game, you can usually, not always, hope for some instant regression. When a team has massive injuries and you don't think it's some malpractice by the Chargers or whatever team, Team X, hypothetical team, their medical department, you hope for regression, but you cannot predict it. You cannot just say they had such bad injury luck, it'll come back. It should, but I don't think it's something you should ever bank on. Turnover luck, the same way. You could have a couple, 2-3 years in a row where just you recover 35, 40% of fumbles when you should be falling on 50. Those sort of things change seasons. Bad injury luck, bad turnover luck, bad fumble luck, bad penalty luck, bad schedule luck. A team can fall on a bunch of those and shit can go sideways. That's why this is hard. So I don't know. Your thoughts on injury luck and the Dallas going forward based off last season?
I don't have a ton of confidence that they're going to have a completely clean season because I guys like Tyron Smith matter a ton. 100% healthy. I don't know that we'll ever see it again. Zach Martin, similarly, incredibly important piece of their offense. And I have a little bit higher hope that Zach Martin gives you 17 games this season than I do Tyron Smith. But both guys are red flags for me. And both guys move the number for me.
Yeah, neck and back injuries like that, and then knee injuries as well. Yeah. For guys like that does feel like something that could just flare up again. So, yeesh.
Yeah, and Lyle Collins is a great right tackle, but his pass pro is a little sus. And they have a tackle in Williams that playing left guard. Center, super duper young. Frederick ain't walking back through that door anytime soon. Injury luck should regress positively for the Dallas Cowboys offense. I doubt they lose their quarterback again. But it's still Yeah, they had bad luck because it was really impactful injuries and a very concentrated cluster injury and a part of their team that you really just were like, well, we don't have to worry about that because they're great. And
Well, and we
then
didn't
they
even
were
really
gone.
talk about the defensive injuries because it's like, I don't know, going from really shitty to really, really shitty. Like the defense was going to be bad regardless, but there were several injuries on the defensive side too. Like they were almost more snake bitten than anyone. I suppose you could probably, the Niners might have, something to say about that, or the Chargers for the last decade, but they might have been the most snake bitten team for injury. Football Outsiders, I should check their stats. They put out a rating on this, which teams lost the most starters games to injury over the course of a season, who had the worst luck. So worth looking at on that. But I think we all know they probably rate pretty highly in that range.
Yeah, I would expect yes. Here, let me look at it. I got it open right now.
Should we do our predicted final finishes? I don't even think games won. Just like order of finish for the division. Let's close it off with
They
that.
were bottom 4 in terms of health by overall. Bottom
Yeah.
4, 28th out of 32. Offense was 29th out of 32. Defense was 18th out of 32. Quarterback, they missed they had the most impactful quarterback losses across the entire NFL, and I think that's a completely fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, completely fair. I don't want to go to the tune of putting anything on an expected finish order here.
I can't. I was gonna make you do it, and then the trick was I was gonna make you do it, and then I was gonna say I'm not doing it. I was gonna put your feet to the fire, and then
what's your ranking? What's your order, man?
No idea. Like all the again, I think all these teams could finish within like 3 games of each other, and it's a clusterfuck. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I think maybe some value on the Giants if you do think that defense and also Daniel Jones plays well. Like probably some value on them to win the division. If you believe in the Eagles, some Sirianni Coach of the Year. I think we're both agreed on some football team unders, and then this Dallas team is probably a bet against team if these spreads get a little inflated. I don't have a strong take on order of finish. I like in every other division. I think we could say like I'm very confident of either Team X finishes first, or in some other ones, Team Y finishes dead last. This is probably our least confident division as far as order of finish altogether. I am clueless.
Yeah, it's just because like there's a lot of divisions we're gonna go through and be like, oh, I like that staff, I like that quarterback, I like I like these young up and coming players. I'm searching for that here, searching for it. So
I'm hoping some team sets themselves apart and we don't have a shit show like last year. I'd like to see a team win like 10, 11 games. That's all I'm asking from you, NFC East.
I'm not going to hold my breath because
Nope.
The way that they backloaded this schedule, like there's so many NFC East games coming our way, being shoved down our throat in prime time late in the season, as that's the only competitive conference.
And if Dallas's defense becomes mediocre, a little below average, and the offense works out, like they might run through the end of that schedule.
They might. Yep.
And just win this division. That's why they are the favorites, I believe.
Oh boy. Oh man. The WNBA All-Stars, man. They played some kick-ass defense tonight, huh?
Yeah. It did not quite get to the 250 that was opened. My goodness.
Maybe if they played
me and Noops will have to talk about that in the morning. Maybe if they played 3 more quarters. Man. So next week we have not decided what division yet, but we'll let you know soon. We'll do that right now. We'll decide. So, all right. Yeah. If you're on YouTube and you watch this, do a thumbs up. If you're in a legal state, download the WinBet app. Get yourself a tumbler. If you've listened to a podcast, give me a 5-star. I think that helps too. And if you're in the chat, I thank you a lot. There was a ton of chatter today. Really good stuff, guys. Looking forward to more tweets, more chat, more replies, more DMs. Football season's fucking here. Let's go.